have you heard Tony Petitti talk about this at all?
No. I don't remember the last time I heard Petitti talk about it. I don't.
Tony's never talked about it. Okay? There's a lot of talk that he's the one pushing it in the room, and we've talked about, the 4-4-2-2-1.
But talk about it publicly.
Right. Yeah, right. We've talked about how he'd like to change playoff weekend instead of having a championship game, have 3 play 6 and 4 play 5 for the last 2 automatic qualifying spots for the Big Ten. But he's never been interviewed about that.
No. Yormark and Sankey are out every other day talking about it, it seems.
Well, Sankey, they say, in other words, he does it because the SEC has the coaches meeting and so forth, so he does it then. And then they'll have their SEC media days coming up next month, and he'll do something then.
But still,
right.
He will still talk about it.
The coaches and athletic directors met for the Big Ten, and nobody knows about it.
No.
Okay? And it was last month. Well, you want to know why? Because nobody did any interviews around it. And Tony Petitti did not grant any media access to himself to do it. And Tony is, okay, look, I've talked to Tony several times now, okay? Because, look, it's interesting. He is highly intelligent. He knows the business part of it. He understands the Big Ten, and he's very engaging.
Yeah.
At least when I've talked to him, I mean, we've had some laughs and the whole thing, most of them about
the problem is, only you know that.
Right.
I don't know that.
Right.
The public doesn't know that.
Right. And that's what, to me, in a setting like that, he'd be great. I mean, but they don't. Like Jim Phillips has talked at the ACC meetings. He'll do that at Media Day. But a lot of Jim Phillips's questions have been about the lawsuits with Florida State. But at least he's been out there. Right. It'd be great if Tony got out there a little bit and talked, okay? Because now he is in one of the more powerful positions. And I think what's interesting about this is that he's the one that, if he's out there with Greg Sankey together, they can then state their case as to why they think it should go in this direction, and then let the chips fall where they may. But at least let the public know what they're thinking, why they're thinking it, but also let other voters know in public what they're thinking, why they're thinking it. And I think that would help their cause a lot if he did that. We're also going into revenue sharing, and we know there's going to be Title IX lawsuits about this. But you know what I found interesting about it? You know what all the Title IX suits have been about so far?
What?
Not about the revenue share of $20.5 million, which is the starting number. It goes up 4% every year. It's all been about the back pay. I found that interesting.
There's still time for that to change.
I know. I understand that, because the argument is going to be, and Jeffrey Kessler, who was the players' attorney in this, said, "Well, this isn't a Title IX case, right?" And the judge actually agreed with him that it's a Title IX. It's not a Title IX case. And the question would be this: what is the definition of Title IX? Is it about, as they say, opportunity? So you get to be an athlete, you're on scholarship, the whole thing, there's your opportunity. Now, the other part, name, image, and likeness, I mean, this is not Title IX. But, I mean, do you realize who the number one NIL person has been here on campus? It's a men's gymnast because of his podcast. Because of his podcast.
Yeah.
Right? Not a football player, basketball, wrestler, anything like that. No. Right? So is that like Livy Dunn has done so well?
Because she built her brand on TikTok and on social media, and she was the biggest NIL earner.
On social media.
The Cavender twins. Right. They were two of the biggest high NIL earners, and they did a lot of it on social media.
Right. And that's not getting money from collectives.
No.
That's just them putting their brand out there and people attaching themselves to that brand and saying, yeah, you keep talking, you keep performing. We love what you give us.
You love your image, your brand,
your brand is good for us.
And the positive is also, you're also a collegiate athlete, so you're on the stage doing these things. And that also helps it. So,
I mean, that's, I think that's something that's Interesting, but so far, all those Title IX suits have been about the back pay.
Yeah.
They really haven't been about the moving forward.
Nope.
So,
moving forward into the Premier League season, for the opening weekend, the full set of games has been announced and talked about. Mentioned yesterday how you always want to hear about the full game slate. We have literally every game and game time. They don't tell us where it's broadcast or it's on yet, but we find that out on the day. And if fixtures move and stuff, whatever. But we have the full schedule, game times, game dates. We know literally everything.
Networks.
For every team. We know the networks they could be on, but some games might be on Peacock, some might not for NBC, stuff like that.
Right, that part. Because
that part shifts a little bit.
Look, in Great Britain, it's on Sky Sports,
Yes.
I believe. So
in Great Britain, it's on Sky. We know exactly where that is. Here in the U.S., it's a little bit different. But we know the game times, game slates. We're officially 2 months away from the start of the Premier League season. It opens up Friday, August 15th. Liverpool take on Bournemouth, so the defending champions take on the Cherries. That should be a fun one. My Arsenal take on Manchester United. Right. And I keep seeing fans say, oh my gosh, how dare they give Arsenal such a tough test? And I'm sitting here like, cool. But they finished 16th last year.
Yeah.
If we were sitting here and saying, oh my gosh, the Yankees face the Orioles week 1 of next season, where are they in the standings?
It's just
dead last.
You got to play them sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, see, the Big Ten basketball schedule, which includes times, dates, networks, okay, comes out right around September 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there. That's a little bit more than 6 weeks from the opening game, which is going to be November 3rd this year for Penn State. Okay. Why can you do that for basketball, which has more moving parts because there's more games, and you can't do that for football? I'm just baffled by that beyond words. I mean, the NFL has 32 teams. They can do it with multiple networks. The Big Ten has 18. All right.
Yeah.
Now, I realize there's some moving parts about, hey, look, I scheduled a non-conference game on this date here, whatever. Or, you notice the Big Ten's been trying to open up for some teams.
Yep.
Opening game of the season. Penn State played at Purdue a couple of years ago. Okay, it's the opening game of the season. They want it to be a conference game. Ohio State's opened up at Indiana, for example. They've done that before in a conference game. So that would usually be in that non-conference opening 3-weekend window. So sometimes that happens. That I understand. But I don't understand. College football's the only one that does this.